This is Algebra 2 at Trig, 2b.3. We're going to divide polynomials. Before we get into the polynomials, we're going to remind ourselves what long division is. You may have learned this in elementary. We have 8. That's going to divide into 2,345. What we're going to try to do is see how many times 8 fits into this number. We first try to see if it goes into the first digit. And 8 doesn't go into 2. So then we're going to go into combining and saying 23. Does 8 go into 23? Well, I know that 8 times 3 is 24. But this is only 23, so it has to be less than 3. So it only goes in there 2 times. I'm going to take this number back and multiply, and I'm going to write that underneath. We're going to subtract it. We get 7. Bring down your next sign, or your next term, your next number, and we get 72. Well, 72 is really what we're going to be able to use. But yes, this is 74. Because how many times does 8 go into 74? It doesn't go into 74. But 9 times 8 is 72. There's my 72. We subtract it. We get a 2. Bring down your next term. How many times does 8 go into 25? Goes in there 3 times. We multiply back, which gives us 24. We subtract and we get 1. In elementary, you may have written remainder, a big R with a 1 after it. What we're going to say is 293, because those are the numbers across the top. And we had some extra left over. Plus, we have one of our divisors, one of our 8ths left over. That would be considered a quotient, an answer to division. So that's long division. Something you may have used or tried in the past. What we're now going to try to do is divide polynomials. It's very, very similar to that. We're going to start with the second number. That would be in the denominator. So that's going to be the x squared minus x minus 2. And we write our x cubed. And then we write our x squared. Notice that there is no x. You got to be observant to that. 3, 2, there is no x to the first power. So I need to show that as a place value. Then my minus 7. So in long division, up here, we had to know all our multiples. We needed to know how many times 8 could go into 23. But here, it's not quite as complicated. We're just going to take our first term, which is x cubed. We're going to divide that by our first term, which is x squared. How many times does x squared go into x cubed? 1 time. So it's just x to the first power. You have 3 x's on top, you have 2 x's on bottom. The x's are going to cross off, and you're going to get x left over. So I would suggest writing that x as your value in the x column. Just like before, we're going to take that and multiply every term that we're dividing in. So x times x squared gives us x cubed. X times x gives us x squared. 1 times 1 gives us 1. And exponent of 1 plus an exponent of 1 gives us an exponent of 2. X times no x's is just going to be x times negative 2, which is negative 2x. And we draw our line. Now, rather than subtraction, we're going to change our signs. We're going to change this positive x cubed into a negative, because that's like subtracting. We're going to change this negative into a positive. Don't put a line through the negative and make it look like a positive. Circle your new sign. Make your new sign different. Either you write it in a different color or you circle it. So if you look back, you can still verify that you had a negative and now you did the opposite, so you know what your signs really are. And you change your sign. Notice what happens here, and you want this to happen. That was the whole reason of multiplying by x. These terms are the same. So when you subtract them, you have a positive x cubed and a negative x cubed. That gives you 0. Here we have 3x squared and a positive x squared. That's going to give us 4x squared. 0 x's and a positive 2 x's gives me a positive 2x. And you can subtract down or bring down your negative 7. Now we do the same thing again. We're going to take our leading term, which is 4x squared. And we're going to divide that by our x squared. And from our simplifying, what do we get when we take 4x squared divided by x squared? So we're going to write a 4, which is a positive 4, right above the 7. We take the 4 and we multiply it to all the terms. So 4 times x squared is 4x squared. You want those to be the exact same. 4 times x is negative 4x. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. We draw our line and we change our signs. So we have a positive 4x squared and a negative 4x squared. Those are going to cross out. A positive x and another positive. This is a positive 2x. This is another positive 4x. That gives me 6x. Negative 7 plus 8 gives me a positive 1. Notice that this exponent, x to the first power, this exponent is smaller than this exponent. So we're done. X squared does not go into x to the first power. X squared went into x squared, but x squared does not go into x to the first power. So we're done. Our answer is going to be x plus 4. That came from here. And we have 6x plus 1 over x squared minus x minus 2. That would be considered our quotient, the answer to division. So let's go to the next one. You go ahead and try to set this up. What would your first row look like? How do you set up the problem? Pause the video. Give that a try. So we're going to have our x squared plus 2x minus 1. And that's going to divide into 2x to the 4th plus x cubed. Notice there's no x squareds. So we have to say 0x squared plus x minus 1. We're going to take our largest leading coefficient and divide it by our first term. That's going to give us 2x squared. We're going to put that 2x squared over the column that has the x squared. You got to write nice. You got to write it kind of big so that you can have nice columns. Then we take this 2x squared and we multiply the first term, we multiply the middle term, we multiply the last term. It's going to become 2x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 2x squared. Then we're going to come through and change our signs. You've got to change the signs. That's going to make a positive x to the 4th and a negative x to the 4th cross out. Positive 1, negative 4 gives us negative 3x cubed and a positive 2x squared. And bring down my x. So now I'm going to take my negative 3x cubed and divide it by my x squared. That's negative 3x. So I'm going to put my minus 3x in my x column. And I'm going to multiply into each of these terms. Negative 3 times x squared gives me negative 3x cubed, because you have 1 here and you're multiplying it into x squared, so that gives us x cubed now. Negative 3x squared gives me times 2x gives me negative 6x squared. Negative 3x times negative 1 gives me positive 3x. And I draw my line. And I change my signs. A negative 3 and a positive 3 are going to cross out. Positive 2 and a positive 6 gives me a positive 8x squared. Positive 1 and a negative 3 gives me negative 2x. And drop down your negative 1. Now we have 8x squared divided by x squared. That leaves me with 8. So we're going to put a plus 8 in that column. We'll distribute that through. 8x squared, 16x, negative 8. Eight times 2 was 16. 8 times 1 was 8. We change our signs. Notice that I am circling my changed sign, so it's very clear exactly what I've done. The whole idea is that these are going to cross off. Negative 18x, positive 7. Notice that this is x to the first power. What we're trying to divide in is x to the second power, so this is a larger exponent than what we have to work with now, so we're done. The answer is your 2x squared minus 3x plus 8. And so we say plus a negative 18x plus 7 divided by x squared plus 2x minus 1. That's our quotient, the answer to division. On the next page, we have synthetic division. We will talk about synthetic division on a later video.